Welcome to Gloria's Gab Live. I am delighted today to have three guests. So we've got a full program, and with October being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, this is a perfect show for today. And I've got Dr. John Diaz with the Miami Cancer Institute. I have Marylin Dance, who's like an entrepreneur and is going to show us an amazing device that she's come up with, and then Cindy Papale-Hammontree, who is a three-time author, and they're all like so amazing. I can't believe you. I got all three of you in the room at the same time, and Doctor, I don't even know how you can be here. I just find it incredible that you've taken the time. So thank you so much, all of you, for coming today. Before we start, I want to thank our show sponsor, South Florida PBS. If you're not a member, I assume you guys are members of South Florida PBS. They have an all-health TV channel. Did you know that?
Yeah.
And yes, I would think you do. I wouldn't be surprised if you haven't been on it. But they have great programming, and you get a magazine every month if you're a member, and if you're not, I suggest you do so. So I don't know, where do we start? Should we go this way? Okay. Dr. Diaz, how did you get involved with these people? Is it all because of, I know you're a gynecologic oncologist?
Correct.
Yeah, there's a mouthful, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense that you're involved. But how did you come to meet, and tell me your story? I know you're University of Miami, Sloan Kettering. You've been around.
Yeah. So I was very fortunate. Everything I gauge now before or after COVID. So before COVID, we were doing a community program, and we were talking to the community about breast cancer awareness and gynecologic cancer awareness. And that's how we first met, and had the privilege of being at a reunion with them and heard them speak about Cindy's book. Marylin approached me about a project that she's working on, that she has worked on, and now has really come to fruition. And it was just great. It seemed like a natural collaboration. As you mentioned, next month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but this month is Gynecologic Cancer Awareness Month.
Oh, no, that I didn't
everything
know.
kind of runs together. I've been very fortunate. They've invited me a couple of times to speak and help educate the community on gynecologic cancer awareness, breast cancer awareness. And it's been a great partnership over the last couple of years. And Cindy, I think, is going to talk about another exciting product that we have coming up. So it's been wonderful to be supported by them. I'm very happy to be here with them.
Yeah.
And they do a great job educating our community. So
yeah. And then we found out we have ties way back.
yes.
So that was pretty funny. So tell us about your projects, because she's a serial entrepreneur, this woman.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me.
Oh, my
I'm very
pleasure.
excited to be here with all of you. And as John mentioned, collaborating has been amazing. So yes, we have the Pink Luminous Advocacy Project, which is our foundation that supports the Pink Luminous Breast device, which is our for-profit company. This is the first direct-to-consumer device in the world that women can use at home to transilluminate their breast in conjunction with doing breast self-examinations, palpations, and be able to see beneath their skin. We had a clinical trial that was published with an efficacy above mammography. It's not to replace mammography at all. It's to be used at home as an awareness lifestyle. A lot of women, the majority actually don't do breast self-examinations. I think that we as human beings feel uncomfortable not having the sense of sight, right? So when you can't see, you feel like, well, am I doing it right? We've also created an app that's called the Breast Awareness app. And so we're working really hard to get this out to communities all over the world. We've donated devices to third world countries, and it's very, very exciting. It's very simple to use. The death rate of cancer, breast cancer, for women under the age of 40 has not dropped. But yet over the age of 40, it has dropped because they have mammography and because there's such better treatments thanks to places like the Miami Cancer Institute that does an amazing job for our community. Exactly. So it's a very exciting time for us.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so you're next.
Oh.
So Cindy, tell us, you're just quite a writer. 3 books already? And then she's working on a 4th one. So it's not.
Yes, I'm very, very excited. My actual first book was The Empty Cup Runneth Over with my co-author, Sabrina Hernandez Cano. That was back in 2007. And
Wow.
then in 2014, we had Miami Breast Cancer Experts. And then in 2018, we had Experts in Pink. And my journey actually
And that's
began.
this one.
That's Experts in
This
Pink,
one.
correct.
Yeah, right.
And
So-
it is available on Amazon. And this year we're going to actually donate a portion to foundations. But more exciting is that we have a fourth book coming with Miami Cancer Institute's physicians and Dr. John Diaz.
Oh,
We're
there you
so
go.
honored to have Dr. John Diaz. We have several other physicians at MCI. We have Dr. Starr Motner, and I don't want to leave anybody's name out. But we have Dr. Starr Motner, we have Dr. Sandoval, we have Dr. Miguel Medina. So we're
Mhm.
very excited about this upcoming fourth book that I know will give others hope. And Miami Cancer Institute has been awesome. We're collaborating with them, so I'm thrilled, just thrilled.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So, aside from all that, I just found out that you have a nonprofit event coming up, and she didn't even send me a press release on it. You're one of the few people that hasn't sent me a press release on a nonprofit event. So, tell us a little bit about that.
So on Wednesday, October the 19th, we're breaking up the week and giving everybody a beautiful happy hour cocktail party. There's going to be a lot of artists that are going to be featured. It's going to be a great event. I invite people to go to pinkluminous.ap.com. So it's pinkluminous.ap.com if they want to know more information on the nonprofit, what we do, if they're interested in going to the event or becoming a sponsor. And then after the initial hour and a half or hour 45 minutes of eating and drinking, we're going to have candlelight concerts, do a private concert for the people that are attending.
Oh.
It's going to be really exquisite, and we're going to be lighting up the Mayfair in pink, which is their reopening. They've done an amazing job
Wow.
at renovating the Mayfair and giving it back, that Miami look that it's always had.
Mhm.
That Coconut Grove, it's an icon, and it's beautiful. It's really stunning, really spectacular. It's one of a kind for sure. So we're really excited to be having our foundation event there.
So, and what time is it?
At
get-
6:30.
6:30. Okay. So, well, that'll be fun.
It is. It's going to
yeah,
be a lot
yeah.
of fun. We're going to keep it, nice and easy and different. So it's
Yeah,
exciting.
and what is the charge on that?
$275.
270. Okay.
And it includes the dinner,
Yeah.
and it includes cocktails, appetizers, and the concert.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds great. Good way
Yes.
to wait. So what else can you tell us? Cindy, last time you were here, we talked about this one book. And how do you find time to write all the time? Because I know you're also with Dr. Marshall.
Yes, I work for Dr. Deirdre Marshall in here in South Miami, an amazing plastic surgeon.
Right.
And I joined Dr. Marshall actually a year and a half ago. Due to COVID, everybody's jobs that we initially had, people are moving around all over. But I really believe change is great. The change is awesome.
Yeah.
So working for Dr. Marshall is awesome. And now I'm just super excited about this upcoming fourth book. We're going to have Dr. John Diaz, as I mentioned, and
Yeah.
also Marylin will be sharing also everything.
Oh, you're going to be in the book too?
Yes, absolutely. And she'll be discussing, of course, the device, the
device.
Luminous, and she has her own little story to tell too. So
I was going to say, I saw that you had this, but then what? You have two
I have
companies.
the app also.
Oh, you have.
An
Is
app,
that the
the
app?
breast awareness app. So because we want people to just download the app, and it synchronizes with the calendar on your phone, and it'll remind you to do your monthly breast self-examinations. The truth is that it's a lifestyle, and if you don't
Mhm.
teach people when they're young, they won't embrace that lifestyle necessarily moving forward. And
Mhm.
women that are under the age of 40 that
Yeah.
have breast cancer, it's a more advanced, actually. The cancer in the younger women is more advanced.
Yeah.
So it's really important to embrace that lifestyle.
right.
I always tell people, if I want my kids to floss when they're older, I got to teach them to floss young, right?
Yeah. There you go.
So, breast cancer has now become the number one killer of women in the world.
Get
and-
out! I did not know that.
It became the number one. It was second during COVID. And the World Health Organization, who we are actually collaborating with and speak to, and they guide us to be able to take this amazing device to market, finally created their breast cancer division. And because of the fact that it became number one.
Wow. I had no idea that was number one. I was thinking it was heart.
No,
Uh,
every 12 minutes there's a death and every 2 minutes
From
there's a
breast cancer.
diagnosis. And that's in this country. In other countries, the numbers could be 4 to 5 times that, depending
Well,
on the
is there a
country.
reason for the, is it because of hormones in food, or is there any reason or that they can attribute to the uptick in deaths for that?
There's a lot of, I mean, even stress is a factor, actually.
Oh yeah, I guess it would be.
A
Yeah.
lot of factors.
Yeah. So that's so interesting though. Okay, so you have two, okay. I read here, you have two devices, or you have two companies. So is one the tech, one is the app? Is that the deal? So it's SilkPro
Well, the app
USA.
is actually owned by the foundation.
Which one?
The foundation, the Pink Luminous Advocacy Project.
Okay.
We
But
do
then you've
Pink
got-
Luminous AP on purpose because Pink Luminous Advocacy Project is too long. So
Yeah,
we're like,
really.
okay, let's make it shorter.
Good move. Okay. So, but then the for-profit is SilkPro USA and Power Sculpt USA.
That's a different company.
Okay. So tell me about that.
So we create laser and light devices for beauty and wellness. So Silk Pro's flagship product is the Pink Luminous Breast, but it also has laser hair removals, pain management devices, devices for your face, for facial rejuvenation, for penetration of creams. So anything that's laser or diode technology.
Mhm.
PowerScope makes laser and diode technology devices for doctors' offices. So we have the technology direct to consumer, and we have the technology that is bigger, big machines.
Oh, okay. So you want to show us how this works?
I would love to. It's
This
really
is
very
cool.
simple. So you just press the button for
But make
2
sure you
seconds.
hold on. Can you see? Make sure you've got her. You have to look. Okay, wait. He's going to try to get this. So
Over here.
yeah.
Okay, so you press the button for 2 seconds, and then you're going to open leaves like this. 1, 2, 3. There, I opened 4 leaves.
Can
And
you
you're going
see
to
the red?
confirm it with the bottom. And then it's hard because there's so many lights here, but if you kind
Yeah,
of look
right.
a little bit, you can see
You
that
can
my
see
hand is
that's
being
red.
transilluminated.
Yeah.
So what happens is that you're going to just turn off the lights in your bathroom,
Mhm.
and you're going to put it on your breast and move it around and go
Yeah.
underneath your arm also.
Yeah.
And see if you see anything that's abnormal. So transillumination is a technology that's been around for decades, and you'll find transillumination in every hospital because they use it in the shape of a horseshoe as a
Mhm.
vein finder for elderly, for children, people that are sick. So that's something that's very, very popular. What we have done is that we were just awarded the patent less than a year ago for transillumination of the breast. And what happens is that when you put this on your breast lights up in red, and you can see all your veins like black lines, like a map.
Mhm.
If you have a tumor that may have an issue, because 9 out of 10 tumors are not cancerous,
Mhm.
it would fill with blood. And that's
Really?
that vascularity, your body sends blood to that tumor. And that's
Mhm.
actually how it also metastasizes.
Yeah.
So there's things like thermography, which a lot
Yeah.
of women that don't want to do mammograms do thermography.
Right.
And they do that at a doctor's office. This is the
Yeah.
first direct to consumer, but thermography can tell that there's an abnormality because the cell is hotter. So they're looking at the heat on your body, and they'll see, okay, there's a little spot there that's hotter. And the reason that cells are hotter is also because of that vascularity and that blood flow.
Right.
So you'll see tumors as a dark spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. But if you have like a fibrocystic breast, would it
I do
show up?
actually. I had a
I do
tumor when I
too.
was 17 years old.
Oh, really?
And it was the size of a golf ball. And back then, because this was 33 years ago, they didn't do it was like a lumpectomy because they didn't do needle biopsies back then.
Mhm.
And since then I've had a considerable amount of needle biopsies, and I've had markers put in because my body creates these tumors, but they're not cancerous, thank heavens. I haven't had cancer. My sister-in-law is a cancer survivor.
Yeah.
And she was age 41. She had her first, when she was diagnosed, she had her first mammogram at 40. And a year and 4 months later, she felt a little bump. She had 3 tumors already, but she caught it early enough. She didn't have to do
Yeah, that's good.
chemotherapy. Early detection saves lives, right? And that's a slogan that every breast cancer foundation
Yeah.
uses. But
So-
it's hard what survivors go through.
Yeah. So now what are you saying? Since it's gynecological oncology month or whatever.
Yeah,
And that's purple, right?
it's purple. Yeah.
Purple.
Oh, that's just like
Purple shirt.
Alzheimer's.
That's right. And
Same
domestic
color.
violence, yeah, and pancreatic, but yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
So we
We're
brought
just
purple.
sharing
Yeah.
color. So what are you seeing in that?
So, a lot of what Marylin and Cindy talked to is this idea of advocacy, making patients, women in particular, comfortable with their bodies, comfortable with the idea of making themselves a priority, whether it be breast exams, how much value that brings to detection is unclear, but the idea of thinking of yourself, right? And so one of the things that we see a lot with our patients, women, is they always put themselves last, right? It's
So
the
true.
kids first. It's make sure my elderly parents are doing okay. Let me make sure work is taken care of. And they don't make themselves a priority. And so many of these diseases could be avoided if they just were able to follow routine screening, do their mammograms, be comfortable with self-exams, make sure they get their routine pap smears. Cervical cancer, for example, is a cancer that we should eliminate in the United States, right?
Yeah.
There are 14,000 cervical cancers a year in the United States. The vast majority of these, over 95%, are caused by the HPV or the human papillomavirus. And this can be detected on routine pap smears.
Right.
And this can be prevented with the HPV vaccine,
Well, I was
which
gonna
all boys and girls should be receiving before they become sexually active. So by about ages 11 to 12. So this really should be something that we eliminate. And yet we're still seeing 14,000 new cases a year. The vast majority of these women have not had a pap smear in over 5 years. So it's a totally preventable cancer. But because, again, women really take care of everyone else before they take care of themselves, we see them slip through this. So they should have a pap smear. They put it off 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Before you know it, they can't remember the last time they had a pap smear.
Yeah.
And so programs like this, working together with Pink Luminous and experts in Pink, that we just bring to the community a reminder to take care of yourself, do your routine health maintenance, and hopefully we can prevent a lot of disease. Or as Marylin said, catch it early when it's treatable and potentially curable.
Yeah. And you would think that everybody should be able to do that, but I know that some people just can't afford it.
Yeah.
And then what kind of resources are out there for women who say, I don't have insurance.
Yeah.
I can't afford it.
Yeah.
And those doctor visits are kind of expensive. Over the years, I've put out a lot of money because I believe, I'm like you, I believe in
Absolutely.
prevention. But you can spend $100, $200. People don't have, a lot of people don't have it. So
things have become very challenging, obviously, in the last couple of years. But
yeah,
Baptist Health has a lot of resources, a lot of patient assistance programs. We've partnered with Nancy Brinker and the Promise Fund to help offer not only mobile mammography, but also mobile cervical cancer screening with pap smears. And so we'll go out into the communities, particularly into these underserved, underinsured communities to help them. So there are resources available. And it's so important that, again, patients try and find, and through advocacy programs like this, identify where can they go to get their routine health screening.
Yeah, exactly.
And make sure that we can catch these things, again, early when it's treatable and potentially curable.
Right. And you've been doing, you've been everywhere. I was reading your bio. It's like, how old are you anyway? You must be in your 70s for all you've done.
Days, yeah.
Yeah. But you went to the University of Miami and then Sloan Kettering. You had a fellowship there?
I did my fellowship at Sloan Kettering. Then I came back to South Florida community. This is my home. This is where I was born and reared. I love this community. And
where'd you go to school?
For high school, I went to Columbus High School.
Oh, yeah.
So
Okay.
Columbus Explorer.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we always joke in South Florida, right, is if you get sick, where do you go? And the answer for many people was the airport. And they got out of South Florida and they went to Sloan Kettering, New York. They went to Boston. They go to Houston. And that's great for those who can afford that. But for the rest of us, and the majority of women and patients in South Florida, they have to get their treatment right here. So one of the goals when we created the Miami Cancer Institute was to bring that expertise down to South Florida. So we're partners, alliance members of the Memorial Sloan Kettering Alliance. And so we can bring that expertise. We share their treatment protocols. We share their clinical trials. So you no longer have to travel to New York to get access to that. You can do it right here in South Florida. Yeah. And we've been open for only 5 years, but we're the largest cancer center in the state of Florida. And the Florida Business Insider reported last year that we've also become the #1 preferred site for South Florida patients to get their cancer care. So much so that we've already outgrown our building.
I know you have.
And we're building now a dedicated women's pavilion right on our main campus. It's going to be 150,000 square feet just for gynecologic oncology and for breast oncology. So the women of South Florida deserve this, and it's going to be a great, great project we're very excited about.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. well, I've had occasion to go to MCI. My husband had cancer. He passed away last year, but what an amazing facility. I was blown away the first time I went, and I said, this is in my backyard. I never knew it was. I mean, well, you don't go until you have to go.
Until you have to go. Yeah.
But if anybody has any questions about where they might go, MCI is pretty impressive.
Yeah, we're very proud of the work we've done. Again, it's only been 5 years, but in those 5 years, we've grown immensely. And like I said, we've become the preferred cancer center for patients in South Florida.
Mhm.
And now we've gone across 3 counties. So we have hospitals in Palm Beach County. We have facilities in Broward County. So we're very proud to be the largest healthcare provider in South Florida and continue to expand.
Well, I just went by. I just happened to be coming back from something on 58th Street, and there's Baptist, and I'm going, Baptist Emergent. When did that happen? I didn't even see that going on. And of course, you've got,
Yeah, we're out on the beach. Yeah,
they're
a
everywhere.
patient shouldn't have to travel more than 20 minutes to see one of the experts at Baptist Health, particularly for cancer care. So,
Well, shoot, I live in Doral. I can get to Baptist on Kendall in 20 minutes.
and we have a facility now in Doral.
Mhm.
We have ORs and we see patients there.
Yeah.
So we continue.
But it was a pretty facility, and I'm going, I swear to goodness, have I not? How did I miss this?
Yeah.
Not that I use 58th Street that often, but at night, I guess it showed up more than it. Yeah. So how long has that been there?
So the facility in Doral just opened over the last year.
Okay, that makes sense.
And continues to grow. And there's plans for new hospitals in the South Florida area. So we continue to grow. The need is there for excellence in care, and we're happy to meet that need for our community.
Yeah, that's great. So how are we doing on time? We're good? We have 1 minute? Yeah, look at that. No, we have, okay, so we have more time, so we can talk about other things that you're up to. So what's happening in your life right now? You're busy running 2 businesses,
and getting the event ready.
And then getting
which
your
actually
event ready.
we percentage of the entire event goes to the Baptist Foundation. for
Oh,
the
that's
event.
great.
So it's,
Okay.
we're doing that
Yeah, yeah,
together
yeah.
actually. So it's exciting. I love Baptist. You guys are amazing.
It's been a
Yeah,
great
Fantastic.
partnershap.
You really
And
has.
we continue to partner with members of our
Well,
community and great.
we've been
women like
we've
these.
been in and out of Baptist facilities a lot lately. As you get older, not me personally, but my family. So I can attest you're right about that. And tell me what else is going on in your life. You know, you're married. You have
I have
kids?
2 boys.
you have 2 boys.
Both boys are vaccinated with the HPV virus, and so
Oh,
that's another
good
thing
move.
that people think about. Like, well, I have 2 boys, I don't have to worry about it. Actually, the whole idea behind the vaccination program is we actually want to vaccinate all women. That may not be able to happen.
Mhm.
So if we can vaccinate most women and most boys, then we have herd immunity. Thanks to COVID, we're all experts on how a vaccine works and herd
Yeah.
immunity, so everyone now understands that concept. But not only that, there are HPV-related vaccines that impact men. So our
Really?
generation obviously knows who Michael Douglas is.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I give talks to some of the college-age kids, they have no idea who I'm talking about.
Really?
Makes
Oh
me
my
feel
God.
old.
Yeah, right.
But Michael Douglas is very open about the fact that he had an HPV-related head and neck cancer,
Really?
for which he received treatment for and is doing well. But that's a very common and becoming more common cancer for men,
Wow.
for which there is no screening. So women at least can have pap smears to try and catch HPV-related cervical cancer, but there's no screening for head and neck HPV-related cancer. So vaccinating your young boys against this helps prevent them from developing HPV-related cancers in the future.
That's huge.
And
Yeah.
you were saying 11 and 12, that young?
So the whole idea is you want to have that HPV vaccination before exposure to HPV, right? Before the onset of sexual activity.
Exactly.
And so if you get it done before age 15, it's only 2 vaccine shots. If you do it after 15, then it's 3 injections. But even someone who's been exposed to HPV, or let's say even has an abnormal pap smear, the current vaccine protects against 9 different HPV strains, including genital warts. And so you may have been exposed to 1, but you'll now get protection from the 8 other that you may not have been exposed to.
Oh my goodness.
And the FDA about 2 years ago extended coverage, used to be up to the age of 26, now to the age of 45. So those of us that maybe couldn't have been vaccinated
Wow.
because we're outside of that age group before,
Mhm.
now have the opportunity. So again, the whole idea is boys and girls before the onset of exposure to HPV or sexual activity really should get and complete their vaccination. And we should eliminate cervical cancer in the United States.
Oh my gosh, that's kind of
It's incredible.
eye-opening.
Yeah.
And I'm sure for a lot of people listening today, or viewing us today. And you're talking about boys getting HPV. What about breast cancer in men? Does that device work?
Yes, absolutely.
And just
The same way. It'll
Yeah.
transilluminate. They can
Yeah.
also use it for testicular cancer. We're in the process of doing a clinical trial for that also.
for what?
Testicular cancer, you'll be able to.
Oh, really? Oh,
because
okay.
it's the same as a woman's breast. Like,
Right. So it kind of
it'll
works the same way.
transilluminate very well.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, it's like 5%. It's a lot less in men, but men do get breast cancer.
Hmm. Right. No, and I actually knew someone years ago that actually had it and had to have a lot of his side of his body taken because it's not just lopping off the breast. It's more invasive, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So and you
And our app actually has men too. We're the only
Oh, you
breast
do?
awareness app that included both sexes.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So, will you try our producers over there? Do you want to? You have one picture that we have of Cindy's and with her book. Do you want to show that? Just because I made her send it to me, so we might as well get the book. Oh, this is her.
Well, just to add to that, I know the conversation here was wonderful, but I'm a 22-year breast cancer survivor,
Yeah, so
and
let's talk about
that's
that.
how I started writing actually. And my first book, The Empty Cup Runneth Over, was for high school and college students because I wanted to break out and I wanted to let the children in colleges and high school know about breast cancer because a lot of times they don't really want to talk about it unless it's in their household,
Mhm.
if they have an aunt or a father or somebody. But the very first book was very amazing because it was at the University of Miami. I worked there at the time in Sylvester, and we got all the college kids together. We did a really big opening for it. But to add what Dr. Diaz and Marylin are saying, I did not have a multidisciplinary team. I did not have anyone to talk to. I was married at the time, and even still hard to talk to my own husband. I wish I had that device to really detect my breast cancer. It was found in
Really?
mammography, and I had a multifocal invasive. So it was really, and I was on estrogen at the time also.
Oh wow.
So they pulled me off of that because my tumor markers were actually very ER/PR positive. But the device, I wish I had that at the time. But more importantly is I want to really let people know self-breast examinations are still important as well, along with the device. And a lot of women also miss underneath the arm because when they do it, they miss that area of underneath the arm because they're all like in a hurry
Right.
and they forget that area. And my
so
lump
you're
was
supposed to
under-
like raise your arm up and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
right.
and I think the app that you have is excellent because it shows you how to do the exam as well.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't have that. So, 22 years ago, it was very different. Even the treatments were different, and my aunt who was diagnosed in the 60s had cobalt treatment back then.
Ooh.
They didn't even have chemo.
Yeah.
Or I think cobalt was a form of radiation. Am I saying
Is
that
that
right,
right?
Dr. Diaz?
Yep.
But so my mom's sister had it, my father's sister had it, and my mom developed it at 87. And the ironic thing is I had 87 genetic testings done and they were all negative. So my mom didn't even nobody carried the gene at all. So, I come from New York and I think diet is really diet, nutrition, exercise, stress, all of that can play a significant part, I believe, in any cancer, not only breast cancer.
I had a dermatologist that once told me that if you drank a lot of wine, you would get breast cancer. Is there any truth to that?
So there was a recent report that came out that about 50% of worldwide cancers are potentially preventable.
Okay.
And so tobacco use obviously impacts your risk of
Okay.
lung cancer and cervical cancer.
Oh.
Obesity, which is
Uh-huh.
an epidemic across the
Right.
country and across the world now, is a risk factor. So diet, stress, and exercise are important. And sometimes patients will kind of roll their eyes and say, all right, come on, but really, what can I do? But it is. And we have studies to demonstrate the benefits in preventing cancer if you have a good exercise routine and manage your stress, as well as in those women who have developed cancer and men, how it helps with the treatment. And there's some preclinical data from MD Anderson showing that stress actually increases the growth and rate of tumors in mice. So all of these things have an impact, and we really need to tackle it all the ways we can. So diet is important, exercise, managing your stress, and then taking advantage of all the screening programs we have nowadays that weren't available 20, 40 years ago.
Yes, and that's true because I had nothing available to me.
This generation is so lucky in that regard.
Yes.
That with all the research and the advances that are being made, and thanks to people like you, all of you, giving us information that we need to.
And I want to add also a little bit about lymphedema. No one explained to me about lymphedema also. So you can develop that because when you have your lymph nodes taken out, it compromises the side of the area of your arm. So one day I was jogging and I fell. And since the fall, my arm just blew up. And then that's how I found out about lymphedema.
Well, what is it?
It's
I never heard of it.
Dr. Diaz, you want to elaborate more on that?
So throughout your body, you have lymph nodes. And
Right.
sometimes you get like a neck cold, you can feel a little lymph node there. And it kind of acts like a filtration system as blood and lymphatic fluid returns through the body. So one of the ways that we can determine whether a cancer has spread from the primary organ is to evaluate those lymph nodes. In the past, they would do a complete lymphadenectomy of the axilla. We've now had more tailored treatment with what's called sentinel lymph nodes, where they'll inject either a dye or a radioactive tracer, sometimes a combination of both, to try and find that first, what's called the sentinel lymph node. And so tailor therapy that way and decrease the morbidity of a full lymphadenectomy. But what can happen when you remove those lymph nodes, and it can be compounded if you require radiation therapy after, is now you don't have that same lymphatic flow. And so that lymph fluid can develop in the limbs, correct? And you can have a dilation of your limbs, and that can happen more commonly in breast cancer.
I still have it,
in GYN cancers as well, and other cancers. So in GYN, we actually did a study that I was first author in New York, where we borrowed from the breast literature the idea of sentinel lymph nodes and started doing it in GYN cancers, and it's now become standard of care. And so again, the idea is to decrease the morbidity for these women, but increase our detection rate and kind of tailor our therapy and hopefully decrease the rate of lymphedema.
Right. I usually wear a sleeve, and unfortunately today I did not wear it. But what it does is well, the lymphedema, you can see the arm is swollen. You can see the difference in the arm.
Yeah, a little
One
bit.
is more swollen
it's not
here.
too bad, but yeah.
Well, because I do my own lymphatic drainage.
Oh, you do?
I massage.
So how do you treat it? You massage it to?
Well, there are massage therapists, but I had one that taught me how to do it, where I would massage, to massage to get the liquid or the fluid, the lymphatic drainage to go down. I don't do it as much as I should, but that helps. Yeah. And compression too. They have really nice sleeves that you can wear now. There's a company
I've seen those compression sleeves. I wondered why people use them.
Yes, they're beautiful actually. Lymphedivas, I actually know the young lady that's the founder, but she passed away at 36, and her name was Rachel Troxel. And she invented the device, not a device, but a sleeve, and they come in all different colors and tattoos. And it's called lymphedivas.com. They're beautiful. They're actually beautiful. I have about 10 of them.
I think I saw them, and I thought it was a great idea for when I'm outside in the yard. Because I'm always tearing, as you get older, your skin gets thinner. And I'm always like just tearing up my arm. And I said, I need those sleeves.
But more importantly, what it does is compresses. It compresses the area on the arm or whatever area is swollen.
So just like
I had
a
19
compression
lymph
stock.
nodes removed. Yeah.
Oh my
gosh. They did do the sentinel, and I had 19 removed. Yeah.
So do you do that kind of surgery as well or no?
So as a gynecologic oncologist, we focus our expertise in GYN cancers. So cervical cancer, uterine cancer, ovarian cancer. We are trained in breast cancer surgery. But we have excellent breast cancer surgeons. That's all they do here. And so we obviously let them handle that. But in more rural areas or areas where there are not as many gynecologic oncologists, many gynecologic oncologists perform both the breast cancer surgery and the GYN surgeries.
Yeah. So I am freezing in here. Are you?
No, I'm usually cold. I'm fine.
Oh, really? Yeah. No, I'm just sitting here like stuff. So tell me, what else can we talk about? There's so much to talk about.
Let's talk about the BRCA test. Like women should know that they can go get see if they have the gene, the BRCA gene.
Oh yeah. Tell me about that.
They can go get tested for that.
And where do you go get tested?
Yeah. So there's
MCI
what's called the hereditary breast and ovarian cancer syndrome.
Yeah.
And that's associated with abnormal genes that may increase a woman's risk and a man's risk of developing either a breast cancer or other forms of cancer like ovarian cancer, sometimes associated with pancreatic cancer.
Mhm.
And we usually see this in strong family histories. So if you had several family members who had a cancer in that syndrome, so
Mhm.
several family members with breast cancer, particularly if someone was a young breast cancer diagnosis,
Mhm.
those patients should be offered genetic testing. And they should really be seen by a genetic counselor, of which in Miami Cancer Institute, we have the largest number of genetic counselors on one
Really?
roof in the state of Florida. And then if they meet criteria for genetic testing, then they will undergo genetic testing. Ideally, we'd like to start with the person who had the cancer. And that way we can test them. If they're negative, then there's no need for the other individual in their family to be tested because they
And when you
can't.
say when they're negative, that, in
So
other
if they
words, they
don't
don't
carry
have
the
a
gene
DNA.
mutation.
I was going to
Correct.
say, okay.
Because then they can't hand it down to their family members.
Yeah.
If we do find the affected gene, then we know exactly where to look in the rest of the family members. The challenge is, especially in our older patients when we didn't have this technology, we may not be able to have that person available to test. So
Mhm.
if you have a significant family history, in other words, multiple family members with
Right.
cancer in that family, you should talk to your counselor and see about getting tested. It should be noted that some of the over-the-counter testing only look for a very limited number of mutations. And so that can give patients a false positive if they got one of the tests
Oh.
off the shelf and get tested and think, oh, although there's cancer in my family, that test was negative. Well, actually, those
was just
commercially available only look
Oh.
for very specific founder mutations. So if you have a family history, you really should see a genetic counselor. We have several at Miami Cancer Institute that are excellent. Get counseled on what does a positive test mean, because you may then have to make decisions about, do you then do risk reducing strategies like
I was going to
increased
say,
surveillance,
what do you do? Yeah.
or potentially removing healthy tissues like a double mastectomy to prevent breast cancer, or remove the ovaries like an oophorectomy to prevent ovarian cancer. And these can be very difficult decisions to make. And
It's a
what does a negative
huge
test
thing,
mean?
yeah.
That doesn't mean necessarily that you don't carry an increased risk. You just may not carry a gene that we've identified, but there may be other genes that we haven't yet learned. So very important. It's hard. We have the holidays coming up. Nobody wants to talk about cancer, especially in the Hispanic community. We don't talk about that. Abuelita had something, but we don't really mention what it was. But as best you can to try and get that information, really understand what is your family's risk of having a hereditary genetic syndrome, and who, if they're still alive, can get tested. And if they're not, then go see if you should get tested. Understand that those results may have an impact on decisions you may have to make for your health.
Is MCI doing anything with gene editing?
So we don't have CART therapy. That's what we're
Right.
referring to. But again, we have a very robust genetic clinical program. We have a robust clinical trials program where we do have target therapy based on whether you have abnormal genes within your tumor. And those clinical trials are, opening and closing throughout the year. So again, if you have a cancer diagnosis, you should certainly contact one of our experts and see, is there a clinical trial that you might be a candidate for?
Right. So, and those are happening all the time.
Correct. Yeah.
We see them advertised,
I think it was Angelina Jolie, right?
She did a great public service in being so open about her experience with the BRCA mutation. She went through, and she talks about this, bilateral mastectomies to reduce the risk, and then she did additional surgery to reduce her risk of developing a BRCA-associated cancer.
It's a very
Really?
difficult decision because I had to also make the
Huge.
decision to remove the other side of my breast. I'm thinking I'm removing a healthy breast, but at the same time, the type of tumor I had was more larger chance to going over to the other side. So therefore, I made the decision to do the mastectomy. This is back in July of 2000.
Yeah.
And then
No,
also
it's
making the decision to remove your ovaries as well. So
Yeah,
it's
another one.
Another
Yeah.
thing that I wanted to explain too is sometimes people, they don't know about that you can also freeze your eggs. I did not know about that at the time. Had I known, I would have done that. So that was another thing that I didn't know a lot back then.
Yeah.
Really,
And that's one of the advantages of being seen at a large institution like ours is we have that all under one roof. And
Amazing.
so, it can be
Yeah.
overwhelming to receive this information. And you may not know the other specialists you may need to see, like possibly their future fertility. So seeing one of our fertility experts, understanding, with a breast cancer diagnosis, are you at risk of other cancers? So do you see a geneticist? And if so, do you then see someone like me to talk about what the risk might be for gynecologic cancers? The radiation therapy, the chemotherapy, everything's under one roof. And so it just makes the care a lot more coordinated.
Well, you're not going to all over town seeing different doctors
Correct.
at every,
And it's a lot
Yeah.
easier for us physicians
of course,
to walk across the hall
exactly.
and ask your
Yes.
doctor
Mhm.
about your case
Mhm.
versus trying to contact another office somewhere in the city. So
It's
No,
so
it
amazing
makes-
today. Everything. It's
Yeah,
just
it makes
incredible.
perfect sense. Yeah,
Incredible.
It is kind of nice to be able to do that and to have everything under one roof. But yeah, I've kind of been through it with family members
Yeah.
that have done the double mastectomy and at at Baptist. So yeah, so I've seen that.
It's
Yeah.
a hard decision.
Yeah, it
really
is.
is.
Yeah, but yeah, and it's a brave decision too, because it's not
Yes.
easy to recover.
Mhm. No,
You know,
no, I
uh,
still think about it.
I bet. I
Mhm.
bet. Yeah. So you're kind of an inspiration to us
That's
all.
why I love doing what I do. I love
Yeah.
giving back. I love help educating. I love connecting people together so that people can learn from other people and other physicians. It's
Well, I think I
amazing.
first met you through Pat San Pedro,
Yes, we
who
did.
was a breast
Patricia
cancer
San Pedro
survivor.
is a very dear friend of mine, and
Yeah,
she's
pretty
She's
amazing.
amazing, wonderful person.
Yeah.
She's always there. She assists a lot of the patients at MCI. She goes with them to treatments, to chemos.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So we go way back.
We go way back. I know.
Yeah.
But
But all of a
more
sudden-
miles on me.
Yep. I don't think so. He knows. He and my daughter are the same age. I could be your
He's a
mom.
baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I could be his mom.
Yeah, right. So,
Wow.
so coming up, we've got this month is. Oh, let me see if I can say it again.
Yeah.
Gynecologic Oncology
So
Awareness
it's-
Month.
yeah, Gynecologic
that-
Cancer Awareness Month. Yeah.
Oh, cancer. Oh,
There
good.
you go.
Yeah.
There is a mouthful. Do you ever get like tongue tied when you're saying that?
A little bit. I
Yeah,
just tell
right.
people at parties I'm a women's cancer surgeon. It's much easier to explain.
Oh
There you
my
go.
what I do.
gosh! Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Breast Cancer Awareness Month is much
A lot
easier.
easier. Right.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. But we
Yeah.
are very excited though to start to collaborate with MCI physicians on this new book. I am so excited about this book. I
Yeah.
really am.
So how many people do you have collaborating with you?
Oh gosh, I think we have like about 10 or 12. About 10
I
or
feel
12.
like every day Cindy
see.
sends me a text message and the number grows. So
I know,
you know, it's
I
going to be a
know.
great resource. We're going to update.
How many pages are you responsible
I
for?
think only 10, which is good.
we
But it's gonna
say
be a
we
great
say 10
resource
for now.
for women.
Mhm.
You know, Cindy had the great idea of incorporating gynecologic cancers into her book, which was focused
Yeah.
initially on breast cancer. But as we know more and more of the association
Yeah.
between those two cancers, I
Mm-hmm.
thought that was a great idea. And I really want to make it, for patients to kind of help guide them through this diagnosis, what to expect, maybe what questions to ask when they have these doctor visits. And it's not going to be all encompassing, but I think it's going to be a great roadmap to help them navigate their new diagnosis.
Well, I think and I think it's a great idea. The more you know, the less you're afraid.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
gosh.
And
and-
why 4 books?
Yes.
Because it changes. Everything's changing
Everything
constantly,
changes,
right?
yeah.
So
for
the
sure.
treatments are
With like we were
different,
talking
everything's
about, the
advancing.
treatments from
Oh my
long
gosh,
ago are
long
so
ago.
different than now.
Mhm.
So we were kind of laughing about medical books too. It's like these poor kids that are going to college and going into medicine, and they're spending like so much money on books, and like they're dated after 2 years,
Yeah.
after a year sometimes.
Mhm.
You know?
Everything now is actually online.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, a
Yeah.
lot of the
Fascinating.
traditional books that we have now, they don't even make hard copy versions anymore. You can get an online subscription
I
and they get
know,
updated,
but
which
can
actually
you-
is great because it gets updated and it's
it's-
constantly
Yeah.
up to date.
Are you trying to tell us that our time is up? Yeah, it probably is. Well, listen, thank you guys so much for coming. This is so much fun, and kudos to all of you for bringing about awareness of so many different things. That I've learned a lot today, so I thank you for edifying me and on all the things that are going on. And
Thank you
and,
for having
and
us.
for spending the time to come here.
Thank you.
So again, thank you, South Florida PBS, for sponsoring our show, and we'll see you next month.